in this book, there are classic romance movie swoon-worthy moments. And they were simply stunning. Like, the tension, the build-up, it was chef's kiss. Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name's Lauren, if I am a new face to you. And today I'm joined by my personal assistant, Franklin. That's my cat. Yeah, cats really don't care. So today I'm going to be reviewing The Love Interest by Victoria Walters. Before I even get started, I wanted to give a quick thank you to Boldwood Books for allowing me to be an early reader of The Love Interest, which comes out on February 12th, 2024. All of the opinions and views expressed in this review are my own. So let's get into it. Essentially, The Love Interest is a super sweet British romance book that is meant to inspire all of the book girlies to keep their standards high, and one day their own Mr. Darcy will come for them. Oh, today I'm also joined by a lovely little drink I made for myself called Whiskey and Coke. It speaks more to the day than the book, So shortly after moving to London to live with her brother, Olivia, or Liv Jones, is inspired to write her own romance novel. She's been a longtime lover of romance books, and it has been her dream to be an author. And even though there's not a great love in her life right now, and she wants to write this book not because she's lacking a great romance in her life right now, but because her love life is lacking. Enter her best friend, Stevie, who is also her fellow librarian at a university library in London. Stevie is her best friend and fellow romance reader, and they have their own little book club with the two of them where they talk about what book they were supposed to read every Friday night over wine at Liv's apartment, or her brother Dan's apartment. But Stevie is really the one who pushes Liv out of her comfort zone every step of the way throughout the entire book. Between writing her book, working part-time at the university library, and hanging out with her content creator brother Dan and his boyfriend Theo, Liv's world is turned completely upside down when her nemesis enters her life in a more permanent way. So here we go, we get to meet Aiden Rivers. He has a very nice accent, and he happens to be a film professor. Aiden just got offered a job as the head of the film department at the university where Liv works. He also happens to be Dan's best friend for 10 plus years at this point. And so you're probably asking, why do Liv and Aiden hate each other? Well, it's all because of their disastrous first meeting. I'm not going to reveal anything beyond that, but wires definitely were crossed. So now they butt heads every chance they get. This is a very classic enemies to lovers romance book, and it's not even like enemies, it's like frenemies. So it's not even, it's frenemies to lovers in a way. After avoiding Aiden as much as she can for the past 10 years, so only seeing him at her brother's birthday parties and Christmas time, Liv learns that he now works with her. Even worse news, Dan has invited his very best pal, Aiden, to crash in the spare bedroom of the apartment until he gets his own place, and this spare room happens to be right by Liv's. And now Aiden somehow seems to be everywhere all the time, anywhere Liv goes, and she is a hopeless romantic. And so she can't quite tell if his actions are meant to drive her crazy or if they're to secretly woo her over. When she tries to get coffee after her morning yoga sessions, Aiden happens to be in the kitchen shirtless, cooking breakfast after he's hit the gym. He's in the cafeteria line while Liv is on her lunch break. And somehow, Aiden even appears in the book that Liv is writing as, you guessed it, the love interest. Who would have guessed, right? Like, okay, let's remember. She's writing a book. We're only reminded of that fact a million times. But Liv doesn't realize he is the main love interest in her book until Stevie reads the first 3 to 6 chapters and points it out to Liv. And she freaks. The three of them are just starting to get settled into apartment life together, Dan, Liv, and Aiden, when an accident strikes the Jones household. And Dan leaves Liv and Aiden up to their own devices for a week. And everything could go either really right or horribly wrong. So is Liv gonna speak up about her own love interest in Aiden? Or is their hatred for each other standing in their way and will prevent them forever? After all, opposites do attract, right? Like, is that another trope? We can add frenemies, opposites attract. Okay, now I rated this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. So honestly, a pretty middle of the road book for me, especially for a romance book. It hasn't really stuck with me a ton, but it was definitely enjoyable to read. But while I was reading it, I was kind of irked at certain things. One of those things was that we only get Liv's perspective, and honestly, she is a little bit childish, and she keeps telling us about 1,000,000 times she's writing a book. She's writing a romance book. She's writing a book, and it's just a bit annoying because it feels like the reader had forgotten that she was writing a book, which is like a main plot point. In this book, there are classic romance movie swoon-worthy moments, and they were simply stunning. Like, the tension, the build-up, it was chef's kiss. The romantic gestures that Aiden made for Liv throughout the entire book were great, and I really had to ask myself, how on earth did she not see that he is simply head over heels for her? Was she just so blind? And that's where part of the character analysis of Liv is childish and immature for a 27-year-old woman. Throughout the love interest, we also get to see Dan and Theo's relationship evolve. And the healing throughout their own story allowed for more light to be shed on Liv and why she is approaching her relationship with Aiden the way that she is. Liv and Dan were raised by a single mother after their father walked out on them when the two were young, leaving their mother, who was completely heartbroken, to pick up the pieces, carry on, and raise Liv and Dan. And both Liv and Dan are hesitant about committing completely to a relationship because they watched their mother get her heart broken. When thinking about a relationship, that's always on their mind. Okay, now on to the spice. The spice. How spicy was this romance book? It was not closed doors, let me tell you that. I'm gonna give it like a 3. Like, it was, you know, very vanilla. It was very graphic, and Walters used like actual sex words. Hopefully that will make sense what I'm saying and not that fluffy crap that doesn't actually tell you anything. We're moving on. I don't want to talk about this. If you are reading this book, the spicy scenes appear about 50% of the way through the book. And oh my god, it goes from 0 to 60 so freaking fast. And these scenes were well written. And honestly, they were almost a bit too much for the book, or what I thought the book was going to be. The love interest had a fluffy romance feel all throughout, and so I thought it would be a closed-door romance. And so I was pretty shocked to find very graphic spice scenes throughout the book. It was not all about the spice and the sex in the book. It really wasn't. It appeared maybe 2 or 3 times, which is why, you know, I'm giving it a little bit higher of a rating, and it was a lot more graphic and real because of that. The story, once again, was not all about sex. He was not seeing her as a sex thing. So compare the attraction and the graphic detail. If you read it, it is not at all like Lucy Score's Things We Left Behind and that graphic attraction, or Things We Never Got Over, or whatever the heck it is, that first one of Knockmount. It's currently what I'm reading. Okay, so Liv's character, for the third time I'm gonna say this, is immature. Also just lacks certain depths that I'm going to slightly expect a character to have in a romance book. And so she's obsessed with these romance books, these romance stories, these movies, to the point where it's nearly all she can think about. And it's that all-consuming need for this that gets really frustrating. But the other thing is, Liv's character doesn't seem to see the big picture all of the time. Like, the majority of the time, she does not see the big picture. If she did, she might see Aiden's actions as maybe he's actually attracted to you. I'm just gonna say it. Aiden deserves better than Liv. Unless she could pull it together. I think if she could pull it together, they could be a great couple. But as she is in like 35% of the book, like when you get to 35%, he could do a lot better than her. Also, it's a single point of view book. And if Aiden's point of view were mixed in the chapters, the pacing and the overall storyline of the novel would have been more enjoyable. Liv is kind of whiny, and her perspective wasn't always compelling to read. Yeah, I thought about putting the book down. I was pretty annoyed. I thought about DNFing the book. At the beginning, all of these Mr. Darcy references were slightly endearing to the, I don't know, it wasn't the movie that I'm accustomed to, but like the BBC show version. And one specific scene, the lake scene, it kept being referred to over and over and over, and that was hung as this is what the ultimate man will be. And if Liv was gonna find a guy, he needed to fit that perfectly. Okay, they were endearing at the beginning, and the grand gesture moment at the end that was Mr. Darcy adjacent was a very good grand gesture. Honestly, I mean, kind of, you know, medium. I wouldn't like it if that was done to me, but that's just me. It was still swoon-worthy and laugh-worthy. Now let's get back to something that I was constantly reminded of while reading. Liv is writing her own book. She's writing her own book. And so as she's doing this, parts of her story will be interspersed throughout her chapters. I mean, they're all her chapters, but some of the writing will be in them. I don't know why I had like really kind of high hopes for it. It's a very generic book that Liv is writing. And okay, it's a story within a story, you know, which was slightly annoying, but the quality of the writing was more cringeworthy than this might actually be a cute book within a book. Also, it caused the epilogue to fall really flat and be unconvincing. Maybe most people don't pay attention to the epilogues in romance books. I like reading them. I want to find out where the couple is in present day or whatever. I don't know, the writing that I saw that she wrote, I did not think it convinced me of the epilogue at all. And one other little point I need to make is Stevie's character, Liv's very best friend, had so much potential. And she could have found her happy ending at the end of this book instead of simply accepting she was heartbroken 2 years ago. And that means she can't ever be in another serious relationship. And now she has to be a career woman and do career things, corporate things. And I know she was a side character, but she was a really great friend to Liv. Always brought coffee, always encouraged, really was just a good friend overall, especially when Liv needed it the most. And unfortunately, Liv took her for granted a lot throughout the book. Maybe she didn't, but from my viewpoint, it felt like she really took Stevie for granted. Even though she hadn't known her for that long, okay, she'd only been working at the library for 3 months, but still, you don't treat your best friend of like 4 months. Kind of like oh, I can have my own romance story, but because you already had your heart broken, yeah, no relationship for you. Go do your job. Overall, I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was a fun romance book to read, but it wasn't without its flaws, especially in characters and repeat references to things. And for any book lover who has a soft spot for grand gestures in third act parts of romance books, you will most likely find this book enjoyable. Overall, I did enjoy reading it, but I had some bigger issues with the main female character and narrator for the entire book. And now before I go, I also just want to say thank you to Boldwood Books for allowing me to be an early reader of The Love Interest by Victoria Walters. This book comes out on February 12th, 2024, so just in time for Valentine's Day. And once again, all opinions and views expressed in this video book review are my own. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this book review, consider giving it a like. And if you're looking for more book content, reviews, and shenanigans, consider subscribing to my channel. I upload a new book-related video every Friday for you to enjoy. And that's all I've got for you. So, I'm gonna finish my drink and we're gonna keep freaking doing this. So